Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Pitch-a-Thon Live. So happy you're here. Thanks for joining. Say hello in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Say hi in the chat. Where in the world are you joining from? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're gonna have some fun and here's some pitches and thanks so much for being here. I'm Julie. If this is your first time with me in a workshop or training, share that this is your first time. Thanks so much for being here. And New York, what's up? What's up, New York? Wow, first timers. This is great. Hi, Dylan. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Denise. What's up, Drew? How you doing? Good to see you. Hi, Monica. Good to see you. Cool. What's up, Josh? Dylan, heyo. Welcome, everyone. So we have some amazing leaders who have decided to step up to the plate and practice.
Julia, you may have got on mute.
Julie, looks like you're muted.
You're muted. I can't hear you.
Oh, wow. I don't
Now,
know.
Yay.
Oh, weird. Thanks. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I shouldn't be on mute, should I? That would actually help, wouldn't it? Thanks for showing up. Share in the chat. What is it that what is it you're hoping to get out of this time together of observing, of learning? Are you going to practice your pitch? What is it that you hope to get out of this time together? Time is precious, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Share that in the chat. Sounds great, Matt. Learning that right pitch. Okay. We got some fellow type A folks in here. The right pitch. What is that? You know, it's like, what is the quote right pitch? A newer 501c3, less than a year, listening to pitches. Okay, Denise. Learning from peers, how they frame their mission and case for giving. Cool. First role as a development director, wanting to learn how to make the big ask, running a development department that is less than 10% individual giving. That's great, Ollie. Cool. Anybody else? What is it you hope to get out of this time? What do you want to learn? What do you want to get? Martine says moving from mid-level to MD this year and trying to surround myself with as much successful ask language as possible and the confidence. Cool. Right on. So the person who was up first had to push back. So we actually have a slot open right now. If you want to be the person to go first, if you want to step up and practice your pitch right now, you can. It's not too late to do that. If that's you, now's your moment. Otherwise, we're doing Q&A and I'll walk you through the pitch framework. But some of you need to step up. Some of you, this is your time. This is practice. This is practice.
I would love to go.
Great,
but-
Denise. Hang on just a second. So you got to register. It's $100. So you can pay if you want to do it. The link is in the chat. JulieOrdonez.ThriveCart if you want to go. Otherwise, we're going to go through my pitch framework and I'm happy to answer questions until the first person goes. But you get 15 minutes of a time slot to essentially practice your individual pitch with a specific major donor scenario. Here's how it goes. You can share brief context for who this donor is, you know, what is the quick, brief, concise background? How long have they been giving? What have they been giving? Who are they? Please use an alias. Can everybody put the word alias in the chat so I know that you heard me? Great. Use an alias. Make up their name, in other words. And then you can practice the portion of the donor conversation. I use the word pitch, even though this isn't Shark Tank, you know, we're not actually pitching. You're not standing in front of people and like, okay, have I got an opportunity for you? Right? It's a conversation. It's a dialogue. That's what it actually is. But if I marketed this as a donor conversation practice, right? We all use this language of pitch. So that's why I use that language, but it's not actually a pitch. I don't know. It's been rare where I've actually been in a situation where it's a pitch. But you'll practice the part of the conversation where you're talking, right? So when you meet with someone, you get a meeting, you're not talking the whole time. Please, dear God, I hope you're not talking the whole time. And and the portion where it's sort of like the on-ramp onto the freeway. So you're the on-ramp leading up to the ask itself, and then you land the plane. So it should be anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes. And I'll time you. I'll tell you how long it was. Some of you don't know how long-winded you are. And that feedback is valuable in and of itself. Like there's no judgment here. Whatever it is that you think, however bad you think you're going to be, I've probably been worse. And I've actually said it to a donor. I've been on so many donor meetings. I have asked people for millions face to face, and I have fallen flat on my face. This is a softball. You're practicing amongst people who care. They want you to win. I want you to win, right? You're not actually here with donors. So if you feel nervous, that's normal. It's totally normal. You don't need to judge yourself. You don't need to feel like, oh my gosh, I should feel more confident than I do. No, you shouldn't. Why? How many times have you done this? And then you'll give yourself feedback. So you'll start with what you liked, what you thought you did well. Then you'll share what you thought you could do better. Then I will share feedback at the end. So the folks who are listening in, you can share what you liked about the pitch. You haven't really earned the right to share any criticism. Because I don't know you. I don't know if you're any good at this. I don't know if you know what you're talking about. So if you want to say anything to a stranger, it's got to be supportive. If you're not supportive and if you're critical, I will kick you out. Love ya. This is meant to be an encouraging space. I will share what I think you could do better. I'm not going to rip you to shreds or something. Okay. This is not a time to try to tear people down. My hope is that you will have practical, actionable tips that you will use and that you can get some of these nerves out of the way. Like asking is so important. And a lot of us chicken out and don't do it because we are just not used to doing it. Not because you're inherently bad at it or something. You just got to get more reps in. TJ, no, you don't need no slides. Please don't bring slides. I don't want your slides. Sorry. Please, no slides. Can we just agree that we don't want slides, right? We don't want them. Bye-bye slides. Yeah, so great. How are we feeling? So I'm going to share the pitch framework in the chat so you can open that up. And this is like a guideline. It's a framework. It's not meant to be a script. And it's a tool to use in, what do I even say? What do I even do? Right? Like, how do I do this? So I try to simplify your life. And the number one thing that I see missing in pitches is the biggest mistake is that the ask is all about the nonprofit. It's all about your program. It's all about the impact. And there's virtually nothing about the donor. And this is really common, because you're trying to raise money for your nonprofit. So of course you're going to talk about your nonprofit. But if you don't fill in the blank, why them, they will fill it in. And they'll be like, you're asking me because I'm rich. Not because you think I care about this or you know me. Right? And so ideally, we want to be able to, before we're asking, we have confirmed that this donor is passionate about what we're doing in the world and that we're reiterating that. The best asks are personal. They're personalized. And it's not just you going on and on about all the amazing things that your organization does. Look at how great we are. Look at how awesome we are. Give us $1 million. Right? So really it's that why them part. That's the Courage Lab method. That's my method. That's the sauce. It's the juicy part. It's the part that really takes it home. I'm asking you because of your unique characteristics, because of your qualities, because of who you are, because I know that you care about this. Yes, TJ, no stress. No stress. This is just practice. So, anyone want to go first? You got to sign up. Click the link. It's in the chat. Otherwise, we'll do a Q&A until we have our first pitcher. Pitcher?
I think I'm
Pitch submission.
probably first or coming up, so I'm willing to go first. I think I'm at in about 10 minutes. So.
Oh, great. Hi, Nicole. Yes, so we have our first pitch submission here. Nicole, everybody give it up for Nicole. Put your reactions and your emojis in the chat. So Nicole, tell us who you are and what organization you work at, your title, and then your brief donor scenario. Go for it.
My name is Nicole Sarkar. I'm the Director of Development for the Miracle Foundation. We're headquartered in Austin, Texas. That's where I am. And my donor scenario, this is actually, I have two possible new donors. I know one of them personally, and I've met with her briefly. She knows a little bit about our work, but and she's indicated she's willing to learn more and give. So this is how
Cool.
structure. Yeah.
Okay. Has she given previously?
Not to this organization. I've been with this organization less than a year. So
Okay.
this is would be my first ask for her for this
Okay.
organization.
And briefly tell us what the Miracle Foundation does.
Yeah, well, we work with vulnerable children in India, the US, and Africa to really help them thrive. And we do that through helping ensure that there is a family for every child.
Okay, so you do that through adoption or through
We're family strength multiple ways. Basically, it's family strengthening, either reuniting children from an orphanage with a family, preventing them from going to an orphanage or foster care, or helping stabilize them while they're in the institutional care. So really, it's all about creating a strong family structure and about getting rid of institutional care around the world. Eventually, no more orphanages or foster care.
Wow.
It's big. It's
Okay,
big.
so that's what you really do, that last part.
Yeah.
That's great. Love it, Nicole. Okay, so
I've named my donor Julie because that's your name, and I figured I could say that it'd be easier when I'm looking at you. So
no, I love it. I love it. Okay,
She's not Julie, but I thought, she can be Julie. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So Nicole, you tell me when you're ready, and I'm gonna hit the clock so that way you have a sense of your time, right? But try to keep it to maybe 2 to 3 minutes or less. You can, pretend that I'm the donor and just that portion of your leading up to the ask itself. And that's it. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Hi, Julie. Okay, Julie, I have a question for you. Could you give me your definition of the word orphan?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Child without parents, without a home.
You know what? That's exactly what I thought too, and that's what most of us think. Well, according to a UN study, 80% of orphans and orphanages have at least one living parent or close family relative. So it turns out that the majority of children that end up in orphanages or in foster care are there because of poverty. Poverty is the #1 reason that kids are in orphanages and foster care today around the world. And I know from your work, your volunteer work here in the community and who you support, you know that the outcomes for those kids are not good, right? These kids are 3 times more likely to commit suicide or end up homeless, teen pregnancy. These are all issues that you and I care about solving. Well, at the Miracle Foundation, we've been helping children thrive for 25 years. And we're doing that now by really ensuring that there is a family for every child, because we know through decades of research that children do better in a family situation than they do in institutional care. So we're doing that with our methodology, which I think you'll agree is what every child needs, right? Family support, education, physical and mental health, safe and secure living conditions, and household financial security. So those things are what every child needs to thrive. And as you know, I've told you, we've been doing this work in India for 25 years. We've made amazing strides. We've reunited thousands of children out of an orphanage with a forever family. We've prevented tens of thousands of kids from going into an orphanage. So we've now come to the US and we're piloting our work here in Texas in the foster care system. So our very, very early results show it's working. Kids are moving around less in the foster care system here in Texas. Foster parents and case managers feel supported, that they're able to do more for the kids. Kids are being reunited either with their birth parents, kinship care, or adoption at faster rates. So the very early results show it's working also here in the US, just like we've seen it work in India. So strengthening these families is changing the lives. It's changing the story of these kids today, but it's also having generational impact, right? We're going to reduce homelessness. We're going to reduce teen pregnancy. All of this can happen when we really focus on strengthening the family and keeping kids and families together. So we are at a really unique place. You know, we have the opportunity to make Texas a leader in this worldwide movement to end institutional care. So I would like you to join me in helping take this pilot project in Texas and expand it throughout the state of Texas with a $25,000 donation.
All right. You did it.
Skipped a
Got it,
few
Nicole?
things.
Yeah. Amazing. Give it up for Nicole, y'all.
It's hard to be the first.
It is. You're so brave, and I love it. Thank you for being first. So give yourself feedback. How do you think you did? What do you think you did well, Nicole?
I talked to, well, I think I talked too fast, but I do that naturally.
Okay. What did you do
Um,
well?
I remembered to make an ask at the end. That's important.
Yes.
I made an
Yes.
ask.
You
It's
did.
important. I liked starting off with a question that kind of hopefully got you thinking, or, you know, to bring you in. I do like to try to ask questions to involve someone in a conversation.
Yeah.
I hope I had a mix of some facts with some, you know, more compelling pieces. I do have a lot of good stories, but they take time, right? I didn't know if I could like squeeze in a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. What would you have done differently?
I would have said more about the donor at the end, which I had planned on, like tying back in why I had a sentence about that. And I think I dropped it. So
What was your sentence?
I was saying, I think I wrote something because I know she supports many of these causes that are affected by this, right? Like she supports causes that are feeding people and the homeless and poverty. And so that this is a way of really helping all of those, help solve all of those issues that she's supporting.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, great. Anything else? Any other feedback for yourself?
I don't know. I probably have to look back and think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. That's great. So, folks joining in, share what you liked about Nicole's pitch in the chat. What did you like? What did you notice? What do you think she did well? Amanda says, great pace, not too fast. Okay. Monica likes how you started with a question. Katie has a question about 25K. Okay. Yeah, people are liking the opening question. TJ says, you know your stuff, Nicole. You know your stuff. I love it. Great confidence. Yeah, shared relevant data. Started off with a question to be engaging. That's great. Invitation to join the pilot was exciting. Yeah, great. Oh, they can tell you're passionate. I agree. Amazing. Okay, so here's my feedback. You ready, Nicole?
Yes.
Great. So
Bring it on.
I too liked the question. I think it's so smart to be as engaging and interactive as you can be. And I think that was a really pro move to do that. I think I liked when you were making it about Julie at the beginning. You know, you said things like, I think that you would agree that, you know, blah, 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 right? So you're kind of tying her in to what you're talking about. My suggestion for improvement would be to you talk about the success, but it's pretty general. You say
Mhm.
thousands, you say prevented tens of thousands going to orphanage. It would increase your credibility to be
Mhm.
exact.
Yeah.
So what are those numbers? Are
Yeah,
we
on
talking about?
the when I was talking about India, what we've already done. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I have those exact numbers. I don't, yeah.
I would say them.
Okay.
Psychology, when we are specific, we tend to trust those numbers more than if we round up.
Yeah. Makes
That's
sense.
across the board, whether we're a donor or we're in a buyer's situation. So I would do that. And you've got to find a way to talk about the success quicker.
Mhm.
You didn't turn the corner of we're in a unique place, right? And you started talking about Texas. You started talking about the pilot. You got there at minute 3.
Okay.
So it's kind of a lot of talking, right?
Okay.
When I think what you could do to make it stronger is you said it a couple of times. We've been doing this for 25 years. I like that. You know, we've prevented X number of children going into orphanages. If you said that exact number,
Okay.
then you can move on,
Okay.
right? Because that's like, I get it. I get what you do, and you're telling me what you've gotten done, and I understand your success.
Okay.
I don't need more than that, right?
Okay.
And then I think if you wanted to incorporate a story, you could to give an example of who are these children.
Mhm.
And a really quick way to tell a story, because I know you said I didn't know if I had time to squeeze in a story, is, you know, you could say, we've prevented 33,462 kids from entering an orphanage in this particular part of India.
Mhm.
Children like Sam,
Mhm.
who went from A, connected to
yeah.
our program, and now they are B. So they went from, and, you know, a couple of phrases to describe their before. We entered into the picture. They went through our program. We were able to connect them to a loving family, and now they are B. So they went from A to B. I just told a really quick story, real quick.
Yeah.
Right? Went from here, we intervened, we did what we do. What is it, the one thing that you did? And then now they're in a loving home, they're getting straight A's, whatever it is that you measure. I don't know what you measure, right? But you're talking about that. So I think it's smart to tell a quick story. Absolutely. And then I think you could say, and we are not done. We want to do this amazing work here at home.
I like that we are not done. That's a good transition. I'm struggling with the transition piece.
It's all good. That's why we're here, ain't it? And then we want to do this work in Texas because you're kind of transitioning to, this is a excuse me, this is a problem here at home. I do 2 things. I would say, this is a problem here at home, and I know, Julie, that you know that. I know that you care about the problem here at home. And here's how widespread it is. And I would give a statistic to illustrate how widespread it is in Texas. Why? Because then it answers the question, why Texas? Why now? what's happening? Why are you expanding into Texas? Right? Just get out in front of that. And I would say, this is how many children are in foster care in Texas. Right? And we're doing something about it.
Yeah.
And we're uniquely positioned to do something about it, given our success in India. Because then you're kind of answering the question, why you? You know how many organizations are trying to address something with foster care in Texas? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
good gravy, you throw a rock, you're going to hit one. So, it's like, why you're answering the question, why you in the pitch, you see? And then you're like, the thing that I was confused, you made me confused,
Yeah.
or I had a question mark,
Yeah.
say, was you said you want to expand it throughout Texas, and that in order to do that, you're asking her to give 25,000. And the way that you said it, and I don't know if maybe this is true, or I don't know, it's a question mark. Does it cost 25K to expand it to Texas?
No, that was just the specific ask for. Yeah. And when I said it too, I kind of was like, how does that come out? That was coming out
Okay.
weird. Yeah. The
Yeah,
project is
so-
bigger, but that was the ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So a few alternatives you could have there depending on the donor, right? And I don't know the donor. I don't know Julie, but you do. Okay. So you can be like, in order to expand, if you thought Julie is a Texas person, it's ironic because I'm from Houston. It's just funny. Yeah, it's a funny thing. If you thought Julie cares about Texas, here's something I would do. Consider, and you could have this in your back pocket. It cost X number of dollars either this year or the next 2 years or the next 3 years. If you have a strategic plan organizationally around Texas, I would tell her it's going to cost us 12 million over the next 3 years, or whatever it's going to cost you. I don't know. We've already secured this much towards the 12 million. And I'd love for you to join us, because I know, here's the why them, because I know that you care about Texas. I know that you care about this issue at home, that you've already invested in this problem, and that you want to create a meaningful impact for foster children, that it's personal to you, Julie. I know that you care about this, and that's why I'm coming to you. I'm asking for you to give 25,000.
Yeah, that's better. So she sees the whole picture and how she fits into
That's
it.
right. If you think, because sometimes I'll do that, if you don't know what someone's capacity is, sometimes, and if I sense that they're a generous person, first of all, I'll tell them that. But if I'm not sure about their capacity and I think they're generous, I will say what my total goal is. Hey, look, it's going to take us 60 million over the next 5 years or whatever we're projecting that we can impact 100,000 children. And we've already raised X amount towards that goal. You could leave it open-ended and you could say, what's the best gift that you could give towards that goal? Obviously, this takes guts, and obviously it would take, a relationship with the person, which you say that you have. So if you're not sure, you might not want to leave it, or if you are sure, like 25K, that's good. That's a challenge, but it seems maybe reasonable. It's still within the Earth's stratosphere. And you said that she is a new donor. So 25K, that could be a very good first gift. We don't want to overcook the grits here and be like, give me the moon.
But yeah, I should sharing the whole, and she would actually, now that you say that, I'm pretty sure that's like an immediate question she would have. Now, when you said that, I was like, oh, she would probably ask that. What is the whole goal? Where are you at?
Bingo.
She does, most people do want to fund something that's going to be successful, right?
Correct. And when you say, if you say the big fat goal, you better say how much you've already raised, because people want to join a winning team and they want to know they're not the only ones.
Right.
Bold goals attract bold leaders and bold donors. There are some people, they ain't going to be excited about your bold goals. And some people are like, yeah, let's solve this problem. Let's get all of why stop at Texas, Nicole? Let's do the world. You know, like some people are going to be willing to go there with you, right? So you might as well just tell, if y'all are bold, you might as well tell them, yeah, we're bold.
We have a plan.
Texas
Yeah,
is
our
big.
strategic plan is the whole country, but yeah.
I love it. Tell her. The whole
Yeah.
plan is our strategic plan is the entire US. We got to start somewhere. We are committed to Texas because the problem is big here. This is how big it is. Right? And you can kind of give that sense of like, what's your vision? What line has your organization drawn in the sand in terms of the impact you project you'll make if you secure the funding? So
Feel good about that. Those are
all
all
in all,
yeah.
it was around 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And I think you did a good job. I think it was good. Yeah, I think it was good. I like the ask, especially if she's a generous person. It's a first gift. I think it's strong. Yeah. Way to go, Nicole.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really, can I just say it's just really good because, you know, our work has been in India for so long and we have that messaging down and it's pretty easy and we've had success with that. And we've really been struggling these last few months with how to talk about it now. Like, and just recently I was like, oh, why don't I just share our India work as our proof that we know what we're doing, you know, because we just have so little evidence yet so far of the US work, right? But I'm trying to use the India work to say, look, we do know what we're doing. We've done this kind of work, you know, have confidence in us. Because it's hard, I think, when you have a newer program. And I'm like, well, we have proof. It's just not here. But I think most people can understand that the work translates, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Give it up for Nicole, y'all, in the chat. Let's see your emojis. Let's see, clap it up. Let's go. Amazing job. I hope you feel encouraged. Good, 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 good. Awesome. The next person we have up is Sheena. Is Sheena here? Sheena, where are you at?
I'm here.
Sheena! Let's go! Give it up for Sheena. Amazing. How you doing, Sheena?
I'm good. I'm like strangely nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm so
but
happy you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Good, good, good. So
Huge.
here's how it'll go. Were you able to see Nicole's pitch and how that went? Okay, great. So
Yep.
very similar. So you could just share, you know, your name, your title, where you work, and briefly what your organization does.
Okay.
And then you can give us a little context on your specific donor scenario, and what you feel like we should know before you pitch. And I'm going to time you just so you have a sense of timing. But don't
Okay.
feel like you gotta, you know, do anything super different to like, you know, just do your thing. It's just information, it's just feedback, you know, and then yeah, that's it. Whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity to do this. I think that Pitch-a-Thon, so creative and just really fun.
Oh, good.
I know, just a really wonderful resource. I mean, I think of, you know, what we do is kind of almost sales, but sales with a heart, and so it's just nice to be able to practice it and practice it and know that repetition really helps. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes.
My name is Sheena Grosshans. I am the Director of Key Relationships for To Write Love on Her Arms. We are a youth mental health nonprofit that has been around for almost 18 years, almost 19 years, sorry. And we focus on advocacy and awareness through social media channels. We have a following of about 29.8 million on our digital channels, which is mind-blowing to me. We also sponsor therapy for over 400 individuals a year. That's about 5,000 hours of therapy. In addition, we have a youth mental health literacy program that is free for high schools. It's a week curriculum, and about 50% of our partner schools are Title I. So it's really going into communities that are needed. We average about 80 to 100 partner schools a year, which is an impact of over 80,000 students. A little bit about this donor. This donor is kind of, I like the idea of using Julie because then I can just look at you. So it'll be donor Julie again.
A lot of Julie donors. This is great.
I know. Julie's so generous. Donor Julie is the combination of actually two donor personalities. We have a really unique situation. Yeah, we have a really unique situation where we have some donors who are just like, they've been with us for so long and they're so wonderful. I've been here for just over 2 years, and some of our donors that have been with us for a decade have just never been asked to give more. So they are consistent. They
Wow.
give the same amount of, yeah, exactly. So they are consistent. They give the same amount every year, but we've done a profile on them, wealth screening, and they have capacity. So the two donors that I specifically
Sheena,
combined.
let's talk after this. Okay. We got to get up in the emails and the DMs. Okay. Because I could really help you out.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
I know. She's like salivating. So the donors that I am talking about, they each give through their personal family foundation. And from what I'm understanding, that's not a distribution that is it's not like what their wealth is going into. It's just something that was established for them. So one is like left over from a father's account that left to his kids, and then the other is a family foundation. It's not their personal amount. So the ask that I am making is a mix, asking them to mix a little bit of their family foundation and then also give out of their personal account.
Great. I like it. Okay.
Yeah. So some background is that we're very relational, have great long time existing relationships, very comfortable with these donors. And so that's kind of it's not a like get to know us, like they already know us, so it's a little bit more of casting vision and asking them to go deeper. So is that enough background?
Yeah. What have they given last year?
Okay, so I'll use one profile because I know we have a mix, but one donor it's 10,000 every year.
Okay. For how long?
And for 8 years, but has been connected through family members for 10 years. So a daughter who was a part of a school effort. So yeah.
Gotcha. All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right, I'll start here. Okay. All right. Hey, Julie. So great talking with you and meeting with you so recently. I wanted to follow up just to connect and tell you a little bit more about our vision for the future. As you may not know, 50% of teens today struggle with depression, and suicide is the second largest cause of death for the American teenager. It's only surpassed by car accidents. And that's just striking. We get new data every year, and it's really really overwhelming for us to hear that. You have been so incredibly generous and such an incredible part of our organization for the last decade. And I really wanted to give you an opportunity to hear a little bit more about what we're planning for the future and how your family can be instrumental to our success. 2 decades into our work and 2 decades into doing what we do, we know the life-saving effects of our advocacy and awareness. We know the life-saving effects of our youth mental health literacy programs online. We know that our Between the Bells program, 20% of the students who go through it actually go on to seek mental health services from their schools. We know that online, our Find Help tool, which is a directory for our counseling services, that 1 in 4 people who visit that tool actually click through to receiving care that they need. And we know that every year for the 400 plus people that we're able to fund therapy treatments for, that their outcomes and health is just so much better for it. We want to continue to be here. We want to continue to grow Between the Bells to be into 100 schools next year. We want to continue to fund 5,000 hours of therapy for those who need it. And we want to continue to exist in your city. So as we have plans for deeper impacts in your city, I wanted to see if you and your family would be interested in leading the way by a 3-year pledge of $100,000. And that can be a combined effort between your family foundation and your gifts, but would really love to be able to say, as we're planning this walk in your city for May, that it's going to be spearheaded by your generosity, and we're going to be able to make the impacts that we plan on this year. We have a meeting planned on November 1st, and I wonder if I could get an answer back from you then. I'd love to be able to start that meeting for our committee that is planning this walk by announcing the great news of support. So if you think that that might be something your family can talk about between now and then, would love to be able to connect later and see where you guys land.
Nice. Woohoo! Give it up for Sheena. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. Great. How do you feel? Give yourself feedback. What did you do well, Sheena?
Yeah, I think, sorry, a little bit context for this specific donor is we are launching a walk in her area. So that might be a little kind of surprising for everyone to hear, but yes, so that's kind of part of the specific ask for one of the donors in this personality. Yeah, I think casting, I know that they don't get a lot of stats, like they have a lot of stories. And so maybe exposing them to some of the stats was good. Having a more direct ask of saying, we are grateful for your family foundation, but would love to get more gifts from your individual persona, I know that hasn't been asked before, and really casting the vision of the specific impact that we want for the next year. I did leave out the 100 schools and 80,000 students, so looking back on that, but yeah, I think those things I can celebrate that I did well. I also think giving a time frame and time for them to think about it, kind of saying, like, I'd really like to make an announcement by this time is helpful.
Yeah, I liked that too. Great. Any other feedback you'd like to give yourself?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, that's great. Great. You did great. Amazing. So y'all, community, weigh in the chat. What did you like? What did you notice that you thought Sheena did well in her pitch? What stood out to you as a positive? What did you learn and get from Sheena? Let's hear it in the chat. So Kirsten says, love the action word you used, opportunities, spearhead. That's great. Dylan says, strong statement of the problem. The date, the summary, and really focusing on her donor, her words, very confident. Love the inclusive language.
Thanks, Johan. That's great.
TJ says, is the stats for me.
Oh, good.
You were so confident and really knew the impact of philanthropy on your mission. Great.
Thanks, guys.
Anybody else share in the chat? Great that you are heavy on past generosity and how you think they may want to join even more deeply to spearhead and inspire others. Awesome. Oh, that's great. So, I thought you did so well. I could tell you were a little nervous and it looked like you were reading notes. Were you referring to notes?
I was referring to notes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you typically do that when you meet with donors?
On a phone call, not in person. In
Okay.
person, I normally just talk to myself in the car before the meeting. So
Yeah, great. I do that too. That's great. So I like how you talked about, you started out with, I wanted to tell you more about our vision for the future. I thought that was cool. And then you dove right into the problem, and that suicide is the second highest cause of death for young people. And, that's really heavy, right? And I know that you're in this work maybe every single day. And so you kind of know that it's like in your bones and a big part of why you do this, right? It's driving you. And I think we can all relate to that the problem drives us. I know that it's maybe more costly to do this, but it's also more authentic to take a pause. The highest cause of death for young people is suicide, second highest. And I think just authentically that likely makes you want to cry, Yeah. And I think just being kind of sitting with it for a second and sort of letting her into your heart a little bit, because the donor also likely is really hurt by that. And it's a moment to connect, right? And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. That's what communication does, is it connects us. And so don't miss those moments where Sheena, you're so warm and you're so kind and you're so friendly and approachable. That's just who you authentically are. You're not trying to be that. That's you. And it's so real. It just comes through even on Zoom. That's awesome. It's so beautiful. And I want you to really own that. Just, you don't need to look at your notes. You don't.
Yeah.
Babe, you are the mission. Okay, Sheena, you're the mission. You are.
Thank you.
It's more important. Let's put a higher value on connecting with the human being rather than getting the words right.
Yeah.
It's
good. Yeah.
And you can easily do that. You can. I was like, man, Sheena's so trustworthy. She's so, right? Everybody's talking about your passion. And I'm like, man, gosh, I could just listen to her talk. I want to know what Sheena's doing. That's why I feel. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, damn. And even you saying that, I wanted to take a breath when you were talking about the problem. I was like, ooh, we got to do something about this. Shit, that is not okay.
Yeah.
This is huge. Yeah. And I think, right, you let the problem hit. It's appropriate. It's fine. They can handle it, right? And then this is what's so beautiful about the work that you do and the work that your organization does to write Love on Her Arms, to
Twaloha like
Oh.
aloha.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, I know there's an acronym that you all say, and I don't have the lingo down yet. Okay. Your position, and all of you are who are listening, you're positioned to, you're authentic and real about the problem. It's bad. And
Mhm.
we're not going to pretend it isn't bad. And here is the hope. The hope is what our organization is doing about it.
Mm.
The hope is that we have a track record. The hope is that, yes, this is the reason why we exist, because suicide is the second highest cause of death. And with your help, Julie, and amazing donors like you, we have provided 100 million trillion thousand therapy hours, right? Or whatever it's a lot. I mean, you got a lot of data. That's great, right? So you see how I'm positioning the problem. And then I like how 20% of the students, 1 in 4 receive care. And I was thinking in my head, how many is that?
Mm.
And that's actually maybe more compelling than saying 1 in 4, because they have no sense of the scale. You do. But you just told
Okay.
us how you have all these bajillion followers in this audience. So I'm thinking 1 in 4, gosh, that's got to be a lot of people. The number might actually be more interesting,
Mm.
of saying we get, if it's your online platform, right? Because you're doing the advocacy and the access and the online education, you're saying we get, I don't know what your
40,000. It's about 40,000.
boom.
Yeah.
So even saying that gives me, the donor, a more educated sense of your credibility as an organization.
Mm.
It gives me hope. I'm like, oh, you just told me the second highest cause of death is suicide for youth. And now I'm like, oh, wow, you're reaching 40,000 kids and you have this big following. Wow. You are positioned to do something about it. Wow.
Mm.
You see?
Yeah.
When you said that you're funding therapy and then you said their health is better, I was wanting you to give a story, a quick story. Could you
Okay.
give me a story? Like for example, 11-year-old Darren, he came to
Yeah.
us and called our hotline, or he clicked on the link and chose to receive care and told us that he had suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. And then he goes through our program 16 weeks later, or whatever the time frame is. You don't have to expel out the whole thing. We think the story's got to be, well, then the next step is this, and then we do this, and then this program, and then this program, and then we have this intervention, and then right. It's like, you're like, oh my God, I need like a freaking PhD to understand what these people do in the program. No, you don't, right? It's like Darren came to us. This was the problem. We intervened. He went through our program. And then now what? Because you say health is better. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? How do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Health is better what? So you could say their health is better, for example, and tell the Darren story, and you could keep it vague like that. Or you could actually share what you track.
Yeah.
What is the data connected to this intervention? How do you know that what you're doing is working? If you can tell, and this is where emotional intelligence comes in, because when you're with the donor, if you know that they're with you, Sheena, and they're like leaning in, their body language, they're listening, eye contact, they're like, wow, I didn't know this. This is amazing, or whatever, right? If they're with you, you can keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Forget the time. Forget it. Right? Because you got all this amazing data and story. It's amazing. And then I like how you said, and now we're coming to your city, Julie. You were like, And I liked that because it's personal. I like how you said your city. You didn't say Houston.
Mhm.
That was cool. I liked that. Very personal. And then, okay, we're planning a walk in your city. I'm assuming maybe she already knew that, or you already kind of gauged their interest. Yeah, so that's not good. 3-year pledge of 100K. Does that mean you want them to give 33 a year?
I would love for them to get to be comfortable with hitting a 6-figure donation, get comfortable with saying that that's the amount that we're going to give. I know they have capacity for that. So whatever breakdown that means for their family foundation and their personal giving, I just want them to get comfortable by saying we're giving a 6-figure gift to Tualoha.
Yeah, 2 questions about the ask amount.
Yeah.
0 to 10, how passionate is your donor about your organization and your mission? 10 being the most passionate.
Up there. Like, I mean,
Uh-huh.
9 to 10. So
Okay. Very
yeah.
passionate. Okay, great.
Mhm.
9 to 10. That's high. As
Mhm.
high as it gets on my
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
Okay. What is their capacity? What would you say is a range that they could do, like in terms of financial capacity?
This is the part yeah. If I'm honest,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if 33 a year is high enough.
Okay.
So that just it'll be a big leap from what they have given to what they can give. But I mean, I've seen all of your stories before, like people make big leaps all the time,
Yes.
So yeah, I think what they could do is probably comfortably for our organization, probably comfortably in the 100,000 range.
Great. So then I think here's how I would position it, because I agree, and my spidey senses are, yeah. So a couple things you could say, look, these are our goals. These are our big goals, and this is what we're looking to. And you talked about that. You talked about impact goals, but they need to know the money goal.
Okay.
You hit that. That was good. We want to do this, provide this much therapy. We want to, these were the impact goals you had. Brilliant. Wouldn't change that. And it's going to cost this. Right? And here's how much we've already secured towards that, so that now they know the gap. So you're saying we need to raise 12 million. We've already raised 7, for example. So we need to raise 5 million by June of next year, or whatever your deadline is. Let's say I'm making these numbers up. Obviously, you would want to plug them in. And so I'm coming to you because we're coming to your city. You've been giving for 8 years. I know that this matters to you, Julie, and your family. And I believe that you want to see real change for mental health in your city. And I know that you want to be a part of it. If you don't know, right? Maybe that's too strong of language. You could say, my sense is, right? In another donor scenario, let's say, you could say, my sense is that you really care deeply about this issue. Again, it's the why them and tying that in. And so I'm asking for you to consider giving 300,000 over the course of 3 years. And then I like that you said, can I get an answer back from you November when we want to announce the great news? That was good, but I think stagger it.
Okay.
So ask for 300,000 over 3 years, pause, stop talking. As soon as we hear those big numbers, our brain doesn't really compute anything else, right? We're like, oh, you just asked me for the money. Okay, so just let them breathe, because you just did a lot of talking. See their reaction. oh, thanks so much, Sheena, for asking us. We'll take a look at it. Our family's going to meet. We make decisions in blah, blah. So we can, whatever. Then I think you can say, our goal is to be able to announce this at the blah, blah thing. So my plan is to follow up with you in advance of that. Is it okay if I follow up with you a week from today or 2 weeks from now or whatever it is? I thought that was really smart. I think you should keep that in.
Okay.
Don't change it. Is this helpful, Sheena?
It's incredibly helpful. So incredibly helpful.
Good, good. What questions do you have?
Yeah, I like the idea. And again, I think, sometimes I'm desensitized to the stats, not desensitized to the stories, but like, I live and breathe
Yeah.
the stats. So I like the idea of just making, like, thinking and maybe even just like making myself like that. When you say something like that, there needs to be a pause. And so I like maybe even just practicing like a pause after saying that. It's really helpful. I like the reminder to let the number be the number and then wait, So I
Yeah.
think we all know that, like, to say it and wait, So I think
Totally.
that's a really good reminder for me too. And I think it was really helpful to hear about kind of with the last one too, framing it as what piece of this can you play? Like, how can you help us? Here's the overarching goal, here are the numbers for that. Leave it with the impact, but here's the overarching, like, this is the amount that we need to get to this goal. We want your family to play a part in that, and so I think that that's really helpful to hear too. It's all incredibly helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Good. Oh, great. Woohoo! Give it up for Sheena.
Thanks, everyone.
You did amazing. They're so blessed to have you over there doing your fancy title, your director of strategic partnership. What I don't remember
Your
that.
relationships, yeah.
That's great. I love it. It's great. Oh, I just remembered too. Somebody said that they liked when you said lead gift or we want you to lead the way. I like that too, and I would keep that in, particularly if it's true. Let's say you're like, we're doing this campaign in your city.
Yeah.
And we want you to lead the way.
Yeah.
Ooh, great. Ooh. I like that. I thought that was really cool. Great. So let's do a little Q&A. You can unmute, but there are some rules. Okay. You have to ask a question. It's not a statement. It's not a speech. It's not something you'd like to add. It's a question. And you please, introduce yourself and share, your title, your organization. And yeah, just it has to be a question. And I think that's it. Those are the only rules. You're like, yeah, I want to say something. So, and I'm like, this is not your thing, my friend. Any questions we have, feel free to unmute. Okay, Martine, hi. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, you are, which most people don't. Hello.
Brilliant. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm really excited to be on my first one of these training webinar things with you. I love your email.
Oh, great.
So
Thanks.
I'm from Feeding Westchester in New York. And like I said in the chat, I'm like transitioning from mid-level into major gifts. I've been in this position for almost, like 6 months now. But so what I'm
Congrats.
what was that?
Congrats.
Oh, thank you. But so one of the things that I'm trying to work on is understanding when a donor needs a more illustrative equivalency, like your gift of 10,000 could blah, 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 versus when we're just asking for that kind of increase in your support because the cost of living in New York is going up. We're uncovering more unmet need. Like there are other reasons that even if it's not funding something specific, just to go to general operating. So my question for you is, do you have any like key phrases that as you may use these illustrative equivalencies, how to then draw back into the more, so would you consider a larger gift this year towards our general opera, obviously not phrasing it that way, but like zooming in and then zooming back out.
Yeah, that's a great question. I really only help people raise unrestricted funds. So I know that restricted giving, there's a lot around that, and sometimes it's easier to do, but I find that when you have trust with the donor, that you don't really need to do that. So, um, tell me how you talk about your work. Like, what does Feeding Westchester do, Martine?
Yeah, so we are the largest food bank in Westchester County. So we partner with nearly 300 partners and programs all across the county to provide food and the resources to have a better future to our neighbors in need. So we do everything from fresh produce to shelf-stable foods. Sorry if there's baby crying in the background or my husband.
Oh, we love babies. It's
Yes,
all
we
good.
do love babies. But yeah, so we're providing the food resources
Yes.
through a myriad of different types of partners, soup kitchens, mobile food pantries, school partnerships, all the works.
Okay. And you do that. Do you have a sense of, do you know the number of how many people you do that for, how many people you feed in a year?
Yeah, so we feed on average 229,000 neighbor visits every single month. And last
Oh.
year, yeah, all in Westchester County. And last year we distributed 23.2 million pounds, which is about, well, it's over 19 million meals equivalent. And that's our highest distribution year to date, which is like we share that with a somber heart because we're fortunate to have the support to grow, but we
Right.
wish we didn't have to.
Right.
And
What a
the other
crazy.
stat I like to share is 1 in 3 households in Westchester are at risk of food insecurity. And Westchester County is the considered one of the most affluent counties in the country. So that fact usually staggers people.
Okay. What's your goal? Why are you raising money? So you can keep doing the 19 million meals, or you need to do 20 million?
Yeah, so this coming year, well, so that's the other interesting thing that I'm trying to figure out how to navigate. So our goal last year was 19 million pounds and we exceeded it with 23.2. This year, our goal increased to 20 million pounds, but that's lower than where we live. You know what I mean? Like the actual poundage goal increased, but it looks lower because we exceeded last year's goal so far. Am I explaining that well?
This is where you're overcooking the grits. You just overthinking it. You
Okay.
don't know none of that. I could tell you right now. They don't know.
Okay.
Like, what did you do? What are you trying to do? You know,
Okay.
we have all these internal goals, don't we? And all this internal stuff we got to keep track of. And we overcook the grits when we're like, so I know that the goal was here. And then it's like, I don't know. I'm like 19 million meals last year. That's bananas. So, and then you said 1 in 4 are food insecure. And I mean, that explains the need.
Mhm.
And it explains why you're raising the money. So you just ask.
Okay.
That's your general operating is here's the overall impact.
Yeah. And so
Restricted giving, right, is like, let me tell you about this one program that's awesome. And people sometimes do that when it's easier to talk about one program, right? Or you're more
Right.
comfortable talking about it. But your work is so clear. It's so easy to understand. It's so measurable. And it's like, well, yeah, we serve 19 million meals. I would tie whatever your ask is towards your impact goals moving forward and just ask for the gift.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the great question. Any other questions? Questions? What you got?
Question.
Great.
Hi, my name is Joanne. I'm the actually new executive director of Harvest Home Farmers Market. We're the second
Joanne.
largest. We're the second largest farmers market in New York City. The founder and executive CEO is retiring end of this calendar year, and I'm excited. But I'm the ED, the director of development, HR, you name it. I'm all about. But fundraising is very, very important. So my question is, can I drafted a campaign. The board wants to do a campaign to keep her, her name alive, create a legacy under her name. She built this organization for 30 years. The two core services is farmers market, bring, fresh, farm fresh produce into low income neighborhoods. And then we also do cooking demonstrations, et cetera, et cetera. So they want to sustain that, and so the board basically said, I want to raise $1 million. I'm like, well, we don't have history of fundraising that amount. However, very optimistic. So the question I have, can I, using that framework that you use, that you just share with us, can I use that framework like writing a campaign?
What kind of campaign?
So the campaign, so they're basically, we're asking money, from we have like over 3,000 subscribers. We have, a little over 1,000 followers, so basically just a campaign letting, those, and then there was like a gala many, many years ago. They fundraised like 25,000, but I do have access to their names. So it's just a campaign to fundraise to sustain, our programs.
Okay.
Keep us
yeah, I mean,
alive. Keep us alive.
Oh. Yeah, you can use the pitch framework in conversations. You can use it in writing. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Dylan. What's up, Dylan? Can't hear you. Ah, it says connecting to audio. Can anyone hear Dylan? Is it just me? No. Sorry. Oh, see ya. Sheena asked a good question. When do you know to leave the ask amount open-ended? I do that when I'm talking to someone, when I'm in a conversation with someone I have high trust, high credibility, high passion, high generosity, high wealth. And I think that they would like a challenge and that they would respond well to that.
Okay, I think I'm in.
Hi, Dylan.
Hi, Julie. I've been following your work on LinkedIn, and I'm such a fan. So,
Oh, thanks.
a little starstruck right now. So I'm a major gifts officer at Sage,
Nice.
and
Wait, I'm sorry, where? I think I spoke over you. You're an MGO where?
at Sage,
Okay.
we provide services and advocacy for older LGBTQ adults
Wonderful.
around the country and now expanding internationally.
Yes.
So we just had a gala, and this is actually a bigger question too about tying an event fundraising into major gift fundraising. What is your approach for getting event donors to convert to major gift general operating donors, or do you have thoughts about strategy around that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question, Dylan. Good gravy. I could have a whole, I should probably do a mini course on this. First of all, I'll say that it's really hella hard. And I don't say this to discourage you or anyone here, but if you can avoid doing a gala, do it. If you can avoid it, avoid it.
Why? Can you tell me why? Like, why is it
Yeah.
so hard? Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, a great example of this. Oh, this is what happens. And it's normal. You know, it's normal. I have a client, they're raising like 12 million a year, right? Great size, mid-size, larger, depending on your point of view, I suppose. They have a gala every year, well attended, hundreds of people come. They just raised like 1.4 million this year. That's great, right? It's good. It's good. They have an events team. They have a marketing department. They have the people to do it who are focused on the gala, right? So if you were going to do that, that's the way to do it, I would suggest. They have a great board. The board gets people to the gala. And I think part of the appeal, the attraction of galas is it's something for our board to invite their rich friends to. Good Lord. We've been pulling teeth trying to get our board to open up their introduce us to your contacts. Oh, right. And it's like, yeah. How do we do that? Let's have a gala.
It's like you were in the room, Julie.
Yeah, right. And so it's like, great, if we do a gala, then our lazy board will get off their butts and invite their rich friends to our gala. And then and here's the problem. They do. They invite their rich friends to the gala. And this happened to my client. One of their super enthusiastic, really wealthy, well-connected board members got their buddies to, you know, who live in the wealthiest zip codes in the US, right? Of course, to come to the gala. They come to the gala. These now are like the wealthiest people that my client has been connected to, these new people. And then this wealthy person, one wealthy family, for example, they come because their buddy, their neighbor, who they play golf with and have done business with in the past, comes to the gala and gives $1,000. And then they land in my client's portfolio, right? Yeah, I know. This is you, Dylan. Yeah. And then they do a wealth screen. They do wealth they're like, oh, this person is bananas rich. They're so filthy, stinking rich. Oh my gosh, let's try to get a meeting with them. Let's try to engage them. Let's get their wife to come to this ladies' luncheon BS, whatever, you know. We start making up things. We're like, oh, we got to creatively. And this donor has replied to 0 emails and is now not even really responding to. So my client got their board member, hey, I'm not hearing back from this person. Can you reach out to them? Are they alive? So the board member reaches out, hey, you know, we really want you to have you involved. Thanks for coming to the gala. You know, what did you think? And of course, this new person, they're nice. They're like, it was great. It was a beautiful event. Oh my gosh. I love that you're doing that, friend. That's great. Good for you. Love that for you. And a year goes by and my client is continually reaching out to this prospect who gave $1,000 at the gala and has not responded to anything since. But they're all, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, seeing dollar signs. They're like, this person's a billionaire. And we're on a strategy call and they're asking me for advice. What do I do? How do I get I don't even know if I'm getting through. How do I get this person to meet with me? Maybe I could invite them to this thing. They're trying to get creative. And I said, you have got to let them go. They're not interested. They're super rich and they came and gave $1,000. Which is kind of like, me giving $10 because my friend is running a 5K and I want to give something. But it's not my thing. I already give to all these other charities. Love you. I'm going to be, if you ask me about it, I'm going to be like, woohoo, go you. But I mean, short of saying like, please leave me alone, you know, or like, they don't want to be rude. They don't want to be mean. So as you grow and as your organization gets larger, you need to cycle through prospects faster. But the other piece is, when people come to the gala, you know, having a plan, and if your board is inviting them, let's say they purchase a table and they get 9 people there or 8 people, that you're connecting with the board member and like, hey, why did you invite these 8 people? Are they interested in getting more involved? And this is ahead of the gala. How do you want me to connect with them? Do you want, and right, and you're and then you're bringing the board member alongside you, and you're teaming with them and coming to them as a consultant on these 8 people that they invited to the gala. And they'll straight up tell you, I invited Joe, you know, Joe's richer than me. Joe, I think he could do something. I think he will if we ask. This person, I don't even know. I don't know. I invited them because I did them a favor and they owe me one. You know, I don't know what they're going to say, right? They're going to say all kinds of stuff. And so then you have that intel and you're like, great. So here's what I'm thinking for follow-up. Why don't the 2 of us get a meeting with this person? Why don't we take this person to lunch? What do you think about follow-up for this person, right? And you sort of create a plan for each person that they invite to the gala ahead of time. So you're doing a few things. You're demonstrating to your board member that you're going to take care of people when they bring them, that you're thoughtful, that you're planful.
I love that. I love that.
And yeah, and you're building trust and credibility with that donor. Like, oh, you can be trusted with more. You can be trusted with more money. You can be trusted with more relationships. If you do well by your board, when they do introduce you to people, then they're going to keep doing it because it's making them look good. Right? So, having a plan like that. And actually, and I see a lot of folks struggle with like gauging people's interest. Like they come to an event, they come to something, and then it's like, then what? Like find out if they're actually interested in getting more involved. And how do you do that? You freaking ask them straight up. Hey, Dylan, you came to the gala. What'd you think? Right? And then it's like, okay, do you want to be more involved moving forward? Are you interested in what we do? Do you want to get involved? There are a few ways. The number one way to get involved right now is to be a financial supporter.
Wow.
And I think a lot of times we want to just do the fell swoop thing because either we're lazy or we tell ourselves that it's efficient. Like, let me just email everybody. And it's like, you got to have these one-on-one conversations and be in the moment with someone and kind of read it. Like, are they just being nice? Are they for real? And like, let's find out if they're for real and if they want to do something a lot quicker. Like, let's bump that up, right? Instead of drawing out the process and playing these guessing games with these rich people who have no intention of giving anything beyond the $1,000 at the gala. They're just not interested. Like, let's find out, you know? So it's more work to do that because by virtue of coming to the gala, you think it means something it may not mean.
Right.
Whereas if they take a one-on-one meeting with you, Dylan, then it's kind of like, oh, wow, they're giving their time with me. That already is a strong indicator there's more to come.
Can I ask one more thing? Or I don't want to.
Well, we got to pitch. We got to get to.
Mhm.
and I'm running behind. So,
All right.
but it's a great question. I
Thank
could
you,
talk
Julie.
all day about it. But hang tight because we'll do another Q&A. So,
Super helpful. Thank you so much. That was
oh,
awesome.
you're so welcome. Thank you for the great question, Dylan. So next up we have Laura. Laura, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Julie?
I'm great. Y'all give it up for Laura. Laura is Director of Development at Flatbush Cats, amazing organization. They are smashing their goals. They also are one of my clients. So, uh, Laura, here's how it will work. Give us just a brief rundown of your donor scenario. Obviously, use an alias. And then just whenever you're ready, you can go for it. I've been timing everybody just so they have a sense of time, but don't feel like you need to rush or anything. And yeah, you're up whenever
Great,
you're
thank
ready.
you. So we'll call this donor Joe. He was one of the first people that the leadership of the organization had a call with in 2016, 2017, when it was really a two-person organization. So really he is, one of the earliest people to buy into the mission, into the org. And he's been a donor since 2019. And he's been a monthly donor since 2023 at $105 a month, and has been giving since an annual gift since 2019, starting in kind of small amounts. The most he gave was 1,500 up until 2022, or sorry, up until 2023. And so in 2023, he gave 10K. He is a lawyer. He's really into the kind of strategy aspect of the organization. He does have some personal issues that might affect some giving, his giving capacity.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go into pitch.
Okay, great.
Joe, you've been with us since the beginning, so you've seen what we can do. A big problem like this requires really big steps. So we have a really ambitious strategic plan to expand our services, increase our surgical output, and scale this model across the city so that we can really make some big changes and help as many cats as possible. I know these issues are deeply personal to you. Is it safe to say that you're all in on our mission and that we're one of your favorite organizations?
Absolutely, Laura, you're my favorite.
That's so great to hear. We're so great to have been partnering with you for such a long time. I know that you're passionate about providing affordable vet care to cats like Clementine, and to building upstream solutions to really ending this crisis once and for all. Would you consider making a gift of 30K over 2 years via stock to help us continue on this path of growth?
I will certainly consider it, Laura.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
Give it up for Laura in the chat. Let's see some emojis. You did it. So give yourself feedback, Laura. How do you feel? How do you think you did? What do you think you did well?
I feel pretty good. I think I did a good job kind of making it personal, using, his specific cat who I know their name and I know their story, and why he's interested in the organization, and his long history with the org, which predates me. So I think that part was successful.
Cool. What would you do differently or change or adjust?
I mean, I think what's always in my head is just trying to be as organic as possible and as succinct as possible. So, and you know, the flow from thing to the ask. So just always being a little cognizant of trying to improve that.
Yeah, great. Okay. So let's go to the chat. Everybody, crew, let's weigh in. What did you like about Laura's pitch? What did you notice? What did you learn from her? Sheena says, great job, way to get after it. I love it. Asking instead of assuming you're his favorite org was direct, teed up to a good answer. Also unrelated, but your shirt is super cool. Agreed. Amazing. Very succinct, clear ask. Interesting, the specific amount and the stock ask. Yeah. Concise, confident, targeted. Great. Yeah. Love it. So yeah, Laura, I thought you did great. That's great. I love how you said there was this one line that I just thought was so seamless. It was like cats like Clementine and end this crisis once and for all. Oh, that was good. Yeah, I like the 30,000 over 2 years from gift of stock for this donor. I think that's great. That's a great ask. Maybe how you could improve is sharing, you know, the specific numbers of we want to double surgical capacity from this to this, right? If it's like over the next 2 years, let's say, or whatever is the particular thing, maybe 2 different growth areas, right? It's increasing surgeries and, you know, perhaps one other thing, or you could keep it more all encompassing, right? We want to impact this many cats over the course of the next 2 years. Like whatever that specific number is for growth, that could be cool. I like how you said, I know that you really care deeply about, I mean, of course, yeah, you already knew I was going to say that. That it was just really personal to Joe. Yeah, I think the question is it how did you word it? You said, is it safe to say or is it fair to say?
I said, is it safe to say?
Yeah. That's cool. Especially if you kind of sense, like another way you could say it, right, is like, my sense is that we're your favorite nonprofit that you support. Am I wrong? Usually they'll be like, I mean, I support several and I try not to play favorites or like whatever they're going to say, you know, but yeah, yeah, you're my favorite. Cause you kind of already know cause you're saying that, like, I sense that we're your favorite organization that you support. I love that you did that. I think that sets you up for like, oh yeah, you're my favorite. You're growing. You need more money. 30K. So pro moves. Great. It's great. Yeah, I thought you did well. It was 1 minute and 24 seconds. Talk about succinct. Wow. Great. Really good. If you wanted, you could add a story. If you feel like you know, cats like Clementine, if you knew that there was a particular story that might resonate particularly with Joe, that could be cool to add in. Otherwise, I wouldn't change it. It's great. Really strong, clear. You know what you're talking about. And you also know the donor. Great. Great job. It was so quick. It's great. Everybody give it up for Laura. That was awesome. Loved it. Woohoo! Great. So we're already back to Q&A. Look at that. Look at that. I want to make sure you all have your links. Okay, so I'm going to share the pitch framework again. So if you need that, you can have it here. And then the Ask Amount ebook. I want to make sure it should be already in your email, but I'm just sharing it here also for convenience, for your convenience. Great. There was a question I saw. Janelle, if the donor says you're not one of their favorites, would you ask for a smaller amount? So regarding the question about favorites, usually I ask that when my feeling is that we are their favorite. And I confirm that. And then what usually ends up happening is they'll say something like, yeah, you're my favorite, or you're in my top 2. There's this other org that also I really love supporting. So that question, when you're putting it in a pitch, it's typically like you already know and you're confirming it in your donor's mind to better position you for asking for an increase. Usually when I'm getting to know donors, I'll find out, hey, where do we stand in your philanthropic priorities? Hey, I know that you support several nonprofits. Where do we fall within that? And I kind of gauge, and you can kind of tell too, like, oh, they really, and that's part of my work and working with clients is I help you to better understand where you are with your donors. Some of you think that some people are just like giving you money so that they can get a tax write-off, and it's really actually way more personal than that. So I like asking the question, like, hey, my read is that we're your favorite of all the organizations you support. Am I wrong? And they'll be like, no, you're not wrong, but don't tell anyone. Or I've had donors say that, like, yeah, I support 5 nonprofits and you guys are my favorite, but I really try not to like play free. I try to give everybody the same amount and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, now that I found out that we're your favorite, you're not going to be giving the same amount for long.
I have a question.
Sure.
We have a lot of donors that have been, we have a pretty good monthly giving program. So we have quite a few donors that have been giving to us monthly for, more than 5 years. And they haven't gotten a lot of attention. And so we've been trying to reach out to them and meet with them and just kind of update them on what we're doing. But because they haven't gotten a lot of attention, some of these $25 donors a month, $30 or whatever, they're not responding. Or if they do respond, they're like, oh, I'm good, don't need to meet with us. And so we want to meet with more of our loyal donors and really struggling with, finding that reason to meet with them when they haven't been engaged with us.
Okay. So why do you want to meet with them?
Well, one, they've been wonderful, loyal donors. We want to make sure that they stay engaged. There's no guarantee, right? They could stop at any point. But also really, to find out, why they are still, to really, what is that meaning behind? Because we do think some of them, certainly have capacity to give more or help us in other ways. And we just don't know anything about them. They've been giving and we have really very little information.
Okay. So do you say that?
No, I guess I haven't.
Okay. So sometimes when we ask for a meeting and we don't get a meeting is because it's really unclear what the purpose is. And so I'm not going to give someone an hour of my time if I don't know why. So when I ask for meetings, and Nicole, I have a on my YouTube and on my website on the training page, you can look at the video that's about how to write better emails so you get more donor meetings. I would recommend that.
I think I have that. Yes.
great.
I looked at that. It
Oh,
is
great.
good.
Yeah.
It's
So
good
then you should
prompts.
just do what's in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Quick tips, just rapid fire, if it's the first time meeting, I'll ask them for 20 minutes of their time. And I'm really clear on the objective. Hey, Sheena, you've been giving for 8 years. We've never met with you. We'd really love to report back to you personally the difference that you've made and get to know you and understand why you give, why you've been giving over 8 years or whatever their particular loyalty is. And it needs to be obviously customized. It's a really highly personalized email.
Yeah.
So if it's obvious why you want to meet with me, then I'd be more inclined to say yes to giving you my time.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? What are you getting out of this? Put your takeaways so far in the chat. What are your learnings? What are you learning? Put it in the chat. What's your takeaway? What are you learning?
And then I have a question, Julie.
Great. Let's hear the question.
So it's being sparked actually by Nicole.
Hi, TJ.
Hey, everybody. I'm in a hospital room with my cousin. So if you hear bevy of
Oh my
activity,
goodness.
but Nicole sparked something that got me thinking that maybe I should have a smile and dial team for my donors who are doing the $30 and $50 contributions. What we do, so that you understand, Moving Day Mafia, we provide dorm room makeovers and care packages every month for students at HBCUs who have aged out of foster care and are homeless. And so because of the care packages, they're ranging about $100, $150 a month. And so Nicole's question sparked, do you think it is a good idea to use, some of my volunteers to do a Smile and Dial campaign and see if we can get those $30 and $40, a month donors to say, listen, yeah, I'll take care of a student's, monthly care packages every month. And then I'll keep my time focused on the big donors.
I love that.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, that's my question for now. And then
I love it. Yeah.
I'm back to pitch after lunch.
Yeah. And you can always try it out, see how it goes, learn. It's an experiment. Y'all can use the pitch framework, and that can be a guiding light for your callers. And
yeah,
it's awesome.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cole, for inspiring the question.
That's great. Yeah, I love the mission too. Thank you for your work. Other questions?
I have a question. Oh, did I raise my hand?
Oh,
Sorry.
yes, go for it.
I'm wondering if you are seeing or just generally, like as you're working with different clients, if you're seeing a shift. I know that we have a lot of donors who are very smart about their giving. And so we have some that give out of DAF accounts. And it's so new. And so I did a call recently with one of these donors that we have a great relationship with. And it's like, tell me about this. Why do you give to a DAF? Like, I don't understand, And I was like, I know we have a great relationship. I'm so grateful for you, but I want to understand how I can get more people like you. And in that call basically revealed, it's a really easy way to get a tax deduction like right up front. But that data is showing that there's a lot that's left in there. And that donor himself, even said, we have some that maybe it's in flux, and at the end of the year, we still have some amounts like left in there. And so I asked, I was like, don't tell me that, it was like, don't tell me that you have an amount left in there. Because I'm gonna follow up with you on that. And I'm just wondering if you've seen any specific strategies or asks. Like, I know what he gives us, and I know that we're his top 4, but I just don't know how to get at. Can you give like what's left in your DAF? Like it's already gone. You have to give it through a charity. Because that also isn't a specific amount, if that makes sense. So I guess I'm just wondering if you have any specific strategy ideas for those situations.
It's a great question. Do you all have donors who give through DAFs? Put a yes in the chat if you have DAF donors. Jesse says yes. Yeah, yes. Great. Yeah. So I think the recent data is the average donor advised fund has around 100K in that account. And and that's average, right? So it's not necessarily a great indicator of what your particular donor has. I am quite bold, and obviously, if I need to say that. And so I will really ask a lot of questions. And a big reason is because I genuinely am very curious. And so I will ask questions about people's giving, and I'll find out, why do you give to the 5 places that you give? Like, how did you find them? How did you come across them? How did you become somebody who gives money away? How did you become philanthropic? How did you develop a value for generosity? Because you know that some people have money and they give $0 to any charity. Did you know that? So even just having that posture of heart, like this, I don't take this for granted. It's kind of abnormal. You're kind of a weirdo that you're a giver. You see? I come with that approach, and I come really wanting to learn. And people typically will tell you things about their financial situation, about their giving, about their philanthropy, about how they make decisions. I've had donors send me they have a framework in writing on how they make decisions about giving money away. And they sent me that doc. And it was like 3 pages. I mean, and he was like, yeah, because, I'm retired. I have all this money. I made really good money. My friends are like, what do I do? Like, who do I give money to? He's like, so I just decided to write it all down. And then I just send my friends when they ask me this doc. I'm like, here, this is my thinking. Crazy, right? And I was like, this is so intentional. This is so this is like and that particular donor gave through a donor advised fund, obviously very savvy person. I mean, just given how intentional he is. He also was retired. And so he gave through his IRA, his retirement account. So he's in his 70s, which if you're thinking, oh, they're retired, they have limited funding that they can give because they're living off of a limited budget, don't make those assumptions. Stop it. Doesn't matter if they were also previously a blue collar worker, or if they were a teacher, or if they were someone you perceive to not be rich. Okay. I have heard of so many teachers who are retired giving away 7-figure gifts. I've just had too much proof. You can't tell me. You can't tell me nothing about it. Okay. I'm telling you. And I just find out. And because one of my favorite quotes is Carrie Nieuwhof said, if you listen longer than most, you will hear what most never hear. And I learn things about my donors and their business and how they make money and how they got involved with these nonprofits and why they give to them and why they give to us and what do they love about us and what could we do better. I ask and they tell me. And some of us, we're just a little bit scared, right? And we think we know. We think we already know, and we don't already know. So with a DAF donor, let's say that I have a gap. Let's say I need to raise $5 million and I'm $1 million down. Yikes. Where is this million going to come from? I'll pull up my DAF donors. I'm like, yeah, they got a charitable account. That money's just sitting there. And I will go through that list of however many DAF, and this is why it's important in your CRM to know the form of giving. It's not enough to know, do they just give you whatever X amount, right? How do they give? It tells you about the donor. You learn. So I'll go and say, hey, you know, Sheena, I know you already gave this year. You already gave 50K this year. Thanks so much. My goal is 5 million. That's going to create this impact. I'm at 4. Would you consider giving a one-time gift or a end of year gift above and beyond your regular giving from your DAF? Man, I'm giving y'all gold. Okay. I'm just going to be straight up with you. If you do what I teach, you're going to raise so much money.
So good. Thank you.
So just go to your DAF donors, because you're right, Sheena, it's just money just sitting there. What's it going to do?
Sitting there.
Sitting there,
Yeah.
sitting there. Billions of dollars is just sitting there. We don't go get it. We think people are supposed to read our minds. Oh, don't they know we need money? No, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about their own business and their own kids and their own family and their own problems.
Yeah.
We got to
think that's
communicate.
what
So
that's what
yeah,
I'm
I would go
thinking.
to the DAF donors, ask them for additional, ask them for more, find out what's in there.
Okay.
Why not?
I think that's too, like, that was it's just, we've already gotten the tax deduction, so it's just a busy time, like, okay, it's sitting in there, we know it's going to do good, but we just haven't given. So I was wondering, I like that, will you give above and beyond to help us meet that gap? So that's really helpful. Thank you, Julie.
And the DAF donors tell me, they're like another thing that you can do, this is also a hack that's going to change your life. If somebody gives in October, November, December from a DAF because we asked them, what are we doing? Go to them in January. What are you doing that's so busy that you can't go to people? They don't care. They don't care when the money comes through. It's already given. The taxable event has already taken place. What are we doing? What games are we playing here? Like, don't you need money yesterday? So just go to them and be like, hey, could you give a one-time give above and beyond your regular giving from your DAF? And then moving forward, would you be willing to issue your checks in January? Or whenever is the start of your fiscal year, or whenever is slow, or whenever you want them to actually give it, just tell them. They'll be like, yeah, it doesn't matter to me when it comes out. It doesn't matter. When do you need it? Sure, Sheena, 50K is already earmarked for you. Doesn't matter to me if I give it to you in August or if I give it to you in November.
That's really smart.
So that's what I do. I bump them all up. I'm like, listen, okay, here's what you're going to be doing. Okay, you're doing this. I need you to do this. They're like, sure.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Okay. Make no assumptions. Yes, TJ, that's great. We had a donor leave us 1 million, and the most she gave us when she was alive was 65. Well, good gravy. I know. I had a donor. He was like early 20s and like an sort of, early career, working at this firm. And I met him at this event, this philanthropy event, and everybody was like overlooking this person. And then it turns out that he is the executor of his great aunt's trust, and that he had to give $1.5 million away every year. And I was like, wow. And he's like, yeah. And I'm really stressed because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I was like, oh, well, let me help you. But he was like 24 years old. And his personal salary, you know, I mean, everybody was like, who is this kid? We just make assumptions about people at our own peril, at our own cost. We just can't. That's why my pitch is always about them and their characteristics. I perceive you to be a generous person. That's why I'm asking you for XYZ. Because honestly, you can't even really know someone's financial situation unless they tell you. Like these wealth engines, we think that we want certainty, but we don't want what it takes to get certainty, which is it takes guts and just being direct and asking the questions, right? Martine says, I don't know what a donor advised fund. So they're not new, but they've become popular. And it's essentially a charitable checking account. It's like a low end. Some of them are more sophisticated and they're being invested. So that, in other words, that money pot is growing. But it's like the biggest ones are like Fidelity and Schwab Charitable, right? And the appeal for the donor is, let's say that their business does really well in 2024 and they meet with their CPA in October, and the CPA says, well, you know, I recommend that you give more to charity, but the donor doesn't really know, like, who are they going to give it to? And they don't have time to make those decisions. So they just want the tax deduction now, because for this calendar year, it's what they need to do for their financial planning. So they're essentially able to earmark that money for charity in the future. So the tax deduction happens that year that they deposit the money in the DAF. So now that money is just sitting there, and these DAFs can be, you know, obviously Fidelity, Schwab Charitable, they could be at a community foundation. And it's essentially a service that is provided to this donor. All they have to do is send an email to Schwab and say, hey, can you cut a check for $25K to Sage? Right? And then Schwab does the whole thing for them. They'll cut the check for you. You don't have to contact the nonprofit. You don't got to do nothing. It's like a concierge. And there's billions of dollars sitting in DAFs, billions. And a family foundation is like, you know, you file with the IRS, you're a 501c3. So you need to go through paperwork. You need to, you know, you could typically look them up on GuideStar and see their 990, and you could see who they're giving grants to. So they kind of go through similar rigor and transparency and the IRS filing that a nonprofit would go through. Whereas I can just reach out to any DAF community fund and just deposit my money there. You know, I don't got it. They'll be like, sure, we'll take your money. Right. And then you can make charitable giving decisions anytime you want. are we feeling? It's already noon and I said that I would take a break, but I'm just having so much fun. Are you having fun? We will take a break, but I'm happy to take a couple more questions. It's great. I know there's so much stuff, isn't there? There's donor. The other thing that's great about a DAF and why donors do it is because you can transfer easily non-liquid assets. Stay with me, okay? So a non-liquid asset is anything that has appreciated in value that's not a liability, meaning it's not going down in value. A liability is like buying a car. It goes down in value over time. It does not appreciate most cars, right? That's a liability. An asset appreciates in value over time. A non-liquid asset is like security or stocks or real estate or property or art or really expensive wine. These are all non-liquid assets, meaning that it's appreciating in value, but it's not cash. It's not cash money in the bank, but it's a part of someone's net worth, right? And so what a donor can do, DAFs, I think in part exist because they're meeting a need. And this is like a little bit of a thing that's unfortunate thing about us. We make it way too effing hard for people to give us money and to give us non-liquid assets. And 90% of wealth is non-liquid assets. 10% of wealth is cash in the bank. So because nonprofits are not savvy and we don't have these giving mechanisms set up easily for donors to transfer their non-liquid assets, DAFs exist because they are these financial institutions who can easily and quickly and digitally safely accept if they want to liquidate real estate and they want the proceeds to go to charity, but they don't know who it's going to go to yet. Their favorite nonprofit, they have no idea. It's going to be a burden on the nonprofit if I just transfer the real estate to them, or if I sell my car, or if I want to transfer stock. So I'll just deal with that later. Let me get the tax deduction now, and I can transfer my appreciated stock to the DAF. If we were savvier and if it was easier and safe for donors to give it to us directly, I think we could, in part make it obsolete. But certainly I go to DAF donors and ask them for more and find out, basically how much is in there. If they'll tell me. I mean, it may be inappropriate to do that, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying across the board we should do it, but that's where your emotional IQ comes in. You know the donor, you're sitting across from them, and you can know, okay, we're getting to know each other, and they may be willing to disclose. And some people, you're like, this is maybe too much too soon. It's not the right timing. You'll know that. But in terms of receiving stock, that's a huge hack. How many of you receive gifts of stock? Put yes in the chat. John's having fun. Thanks, John. I'm so glad. Yes. Good. So Laura, right, and Flatbush Cats, my client, they specifically will ask folks who they know invest in the stock market, hey, would you consider giving a gift of stock? Because typically when we're asking for donations, donors will think, they're thinking about their checking account, right? They're thinking about the cash that they have in the bank. Like, you need the money now. So if you frame it as, I also like Sheena's approach of, we'd like for you to consider giving $300,000 from both your family foundation and you personally. That's also a cool option. Great. I like that. Cool. Other questions? I'm glad you're all receiving stock gifts. If you're not, it's pretty straightforward to set up a stock account, let's say with Merrill Lynch or, you know, any financial institution that you trust, perhaps that you bank with, so that you start receiving gifts of stock from donors directly. You really should do that, particularly if you're prioritizing major gifts and individual giving as a top priority for you, then yeah, I would definitely do that. Yes, Dylan and Nicole. All right. Well, we got more questions. Go for it.
Okay. So this is a real scenario, but I'm going to use an alias. So I have a prospective donor. He wants to help, but the way he's offering, and he's a data analyst person,
Okay.
he has offered to help me by applying his expertise with our donor data to do some data analysis. I have been sitting with whether this is a good use of time or if I should, you know, turn it down and say, no, like really, we do need your financial support. But I mean, data analysis can yield big returns. So I was just like curious if you had thoughts on that kind of predicament when someone's offer their like professional expertise.
Yeah, that's great. How long have you known this person, or how long have they been a supporter or involved with the organization?
So it's his first entree into our organization. He hasn't given money yet,
Okay.
but we ended up honoring his deceased uncle. So that kind of like was motivating for him to like he wants to give something like for the family.
Yeah, I gotcha. Have you talked with your boss about it?
Yeah. And my boss was like kind of like wow, like up like your call if you think it's worth
Oh,
it.
huh. And
So
what do you think, Dylan?
what do I think? I mean, I do think that donor data, I mean, he said he was flexible to even look at year-end donor data, which I think is super helpful to like analyze first-time givers and to really see if he could teach me something about analyzing fundraising data that I'm curious to know. And I think that could turn into financial support depending on like his experience with the process. So I thought it was worth it because like worst case scenario, I learned something. Best case scenario, I learned something and he gives. That's what I thought.
Okay. So a couple things. It'd be great to have some kind of policy or standard around data privacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what your organization's procedure is around that.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that would be important.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it simply
Right.
because we don't really know him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know you. I mean, we knew your uncle. We
Mm-hmm.
loved your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
Mm-hmm.
great you want to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So great you want to help. Really honored you want to give your time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Here are the 3 ways in which we actually need help. So part of it, Dylan, may be, and you could tell me if I'm wrong here, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Part of it may be that you love to learn.
Yeah.
You love to learn, don't you?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah, I know. And that's awesome. That's a strength of yours. Okay. I'm not saying I don't want to squash that. That is good and beautiful, and that will serve you your entire life. And likely it has.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
And sometimes when we're with donors, and I know you're new in the role, we can take too much of a learning posture
Yeah.
and not enough of a leading posture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they start to give advice and they think, oh, this person needs help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why fundraising is a leadership conversation, because when we have that, when we're bringing that posture where we're just like wide open to learning, they're like, oh, he needs a teacher.
Right.
I'm good at stuff. I'll
Right.
teach you, Dylan.
Right.
That's how
Right.
I can help. And you're like, oh no, I really don't need that. All I need is for you to either give or don't and have a nice day.
Yeah. And then I do feel, is that like rude sometimes if that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to lead yourself well.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have a job
Mm-hmm.
and I have a social contract with the people employing me and with myself to stay
Yeah.
in integrity.
Yeah.
And that my main thing is raising money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think acknowledge it. Hey, I love that you want to give your time. That's so kind of you. That's so generous. I feel like a jerk saying this, but we really just don't need that kind of support right now. It's just not a priority.
Yeah.
And he can't, and here's the thing, the donor, the volunteer person that you're talking to, they don't know unless you tell them, right? And it's your job to lead them in the way in which they can actually be helpful. That's where the learning stops
Mm-hmm.
and the leading starts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very helpful. And yeah, thank you. Because I do, that is like a thing. Like I will
Yes.
go very wide open. And the learning definitely helps me learn about the person.
Yes.
But then it's the, okay, and now we have to put the boundary there and talk like what we're actually talking about. But it is good. Okay. But there's a
Yes.
limit to how much you can learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're representing the organization.
Yeah.
And you're leading them in offering them opportunities, right, to be involved, to be helpful. And they
Yeah.
actually do want to be helpful. They are trying to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They just don't know. So they're like, oh, let me just fill in the blank for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you're offering because you don't know.
Right.
So let me tell you.
Right.
Right? It's like the same thing with board members or volunteers. They come with ideas.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, this is a great idea. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a great way to move forward in that, and that's a super common challenge, is, hey, I love that idea. What we're focused on right now is X, Y, and Z. Maybe let's revisit that in 6 months or a year or whatever. Do you see any way forward with X, Y, and Z? Are you interested in X, Y, and Z? You know? And then that way they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't do any of that. Okay, got it. Great. And then you can move on with your life and you don't need to put this person in your portfolio. They can go into the disqualification pile. You can revisit the disqualification pile in 6 months, 9 months, whatever your procedure is. Doesn't mean you never talk to them again. It just means right now, the main thing is the main thing, raising money, and they can't help with that. They just told you. So it's all good. No harm, no foul. Let's move on with our lives.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. That was really
Oh,
helpful.
you're so welcome. You have great questions, Dylan. Aren't you all so happy Dylan is asking great questions? Are you learning? Yes, Nicole. This is our last question for now, and then we will pick back up at 1. Go for it, Nicole.
Okay. So I made an ask, I made a mistake. I didn't end up having the couple in the room. I had the woman in the room and she seemed really receptive. And so, I made an ask. She went back to talk to her husband and then she
Okay.
came back and said no. And so I
Huh.
really, I feel like she was really in line with what we were doing and they have big capacity and so I'm trying to rethink of like, is it worth or can I get back in front of both of them? Because I think from her reply, it sounds like he just wasn't really sure or kind of confused about what we do. And anyway, so I'm trying to, I've kind of kept in touch with her, but I'm trying to figure out that way to get back in front of both of them. So my one thought is our founder doesn't live in the same town anymore. So she comes to town a couple times a year. And, she is our strongest fundraiser. And so I was thinking about using her coming into town as, hey, for her to meet with them as kind of a way to get back in front of them. But I'm just trying to come up with that strategy of, is it, I do want to try again. And if not, then I'll move on. But I feel like, she really was receptive and obviously not having him there really probably cost us a gift.
Do you know why it's a no?
She didn't say much. She just was like, yeah, I spoke with them and, it didn't seem like, no, we're totally not interested. It seemed like, he wasn't on the same page, or maybe he didn't understand what we did.
And they've given before, or this was your first ask?
No, this was their first.
How did you get connected to them?
Through another donor that knows them and thought that she would be interested in our cause. And she
Okay.
was. I mean, I think she really was.
Okay. So, I get it. I mean, it stinks to hear no, especially if you're like, oh, they're with me and yeah, this is going to be, I feel good about this. And then it's like,
She asked great
no.
questions. Yeah. She asked great questions. And anyway, yeah.
So couple things. I could be wrong, Nicole, but tell me, I know you said your founder is a really strong fundraiser. You're feeling a little bit insecure. You're feeling a little bit not as confident as you were because you thought it was going to be a yes. You were wrong. And it turns out it's a no. So you're like, we got to lean on the strong fundraiser here. I mean, I'd love for you to resist the temptation to do that.
Okay.
And my recommendation would be instead to call up the woman and just ask for feedback.
Okay.
And try to understand. So here's what I would say. I'm just going to tell you what I would say, and you can chew the meat, spit out the bones. Hey, Bridget, I just wanted to reach out. I really enjoyed our conversation. I sense that you're really passionate about what we do. And I know that it's a no for now in terms of supporting us financially. And just for my own professional growth and so that I can improve, it's really valuable for me to understand why you decided not to give. It's totally fine. I just would appreciate any feedback you can give as to why you said no, and if there's anything I can do differently.
Okay.
I've done this multiple times. And have you ever done anything like that, Nicole?
Probably not as directly. Yeah. Not within the ask. I have done that before, maybe not that quite directly, but like, could you give me some more info on why no? But I don't think I've asked specifically I think that's a good approach for my learning.
So a few things happen. Usually they'll say, oh, no, Nicole, there's nothing you could have done different. We are taking care of our aging parents. And I didn't know the financial cost of that. Frankly, my husband manages all the bills. You don't know what they're going to say, right? Like,
Yeah.
I am personally interested. It's just the timing's bad.
Yeah.
Or I've asked this question and they're like, you know what? I feel like it's too soon. I feel like you jumped the gun, to be honest with you. And they'll tell me that. They'll say, you know, it's the same scenario. It was a donor who was introduced through a board member, through somebody who already supported us. And I had asked for $200,000. This person's really wealthy. And they had come to a couple of events. They took a couple meetings with me, super busy. So the fact they took meeting, I was like, wow. I go to their like high rise office in Century City in a part of LA. And I'm sitting there like on the 38th floor or something. And, you know, I'm in their like giant room and they're like, yeah, so it's going to be a no for the 200,000. And like they met with me in person to tell me no. I was like, ouch. And we talked it through and I was like, can I know the reason why? And that moment is so crucial. We've got to have the courage to lean in a little bit more. It's 10% more uncomfortable. Find out. Don't. And I know sometimes we're shocked. We're like, oh my God, I was so wrong. I want to get out of here. My tail's between my legs. I can't wait to get to my car. And instead, take a breath, right? And just, hey, thanks so much for letting me know. May I know the reasons why it's a no? And just listen, you know? But because you're reaching out and it's not in the conversation, then giving those reasons of like, hey, I'm trying to improve how I do my job. And your feedback is really valuable just for my own learning. Would you be willing to hop on just a quick 5-minute call so I can better understand your reasons for not giving right now? And if there's anything that I could have done differently, I'd love to know. They might say, yeah, there is something you could do differently. Or they might say, no, there's absolutely nothing. It's not you. It could be, Nicole, that they're having marriage problems. I don't know. Yeah, I freaking have no idea. We have no idea. We have no idea. This is our problem. We think we're so certain. We're not. We don't know. We have to find out. So I love asking people for feedback because they love to give it. And then they're like, you know, and then you learn and that helps you moving forward and stewarding the relationship and how you prioritize the relationship and prioritize your time.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? I feel like I talked for a long time.
No, that's really good. I need to do that.
And what ends up happening is the way that we handle rejection or hearing no either sets us up for a closer relationship or it like tanks it sometimes. Like if we just don't take it well and then we're like, oh, it's a no, never talk to them again. Oh my gosh. You know, and it's like, now we've completely closed off the possibility of them giving in the future. And it may just be a no for now, but let's find out, you know? So that's great. It's a great question. And it happens to everybody. If you're always hearing yes, it's actually a sign of unhealth. If you're always hearing yes, you're asking for way too little. You're not risking hardly anything. If everyone says yes to you, you're chicken. This is about you. I'm just going to tell you straight up. And or You are maybe manipulative. People who always get yes, what's going on there? In healthy relationships, we can say no, can't we? Like, hey, I don't want to do that. That's healthy. But we freak out. In fundraising, we're like, oh my God, I'm a failure. Oh my God, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Because we heard a no. That's a sign of health, that your donors are honest with you and that you're not manipulating them. Well done. Good job. And it also means you're going for it. You're taking big swings. You're taking a risk. Sometimes they're going to be like, yeah, it's just the bad timing. It's not a no forever. And it's all good. Sometimes it is a no, and then it's a learning. It's like, oh, I was off. I was chasing the money. I wasn't paying attention to all the signs. I was ignoring myself. I was ignoring my own inner voice that said that I should leave this alone. Okay, we're going to take a break. It's 12:30. We're going to hop back in at 1, and we have Bridget, who's up first. Whoop, whoop. And then we have TJ, the lovely TJ. And so I'm so excited. They're going to be amazing. They're going to be great. Thank you for all the brilliant questions. Thank you for everybody who pitched. You are so brave. You are so awesome. You're an amazing leader. You are. And yes, I do. I yell, TJ, don't I? I'm yelling. It's a yell. I'm yelly. John knows. Some of y'all know. You know, I'm a yeller. I don't know why. I just I want you to win. Okay, that's my agenda. I want you to win. I want your mission I want you to have excess. I want you to have a reserve. I don't want you to be stressed about how you're going to get this done. So I'll see you at 1. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great break, and the Pitch-a-Thon continues. Bye, everybody.